I'm Suresh Bhagavatula. I'm an assistant professor here at the NS Raghavan Center for Entrepreneurial Learning here at IIMB. My research focuses on how networks that entrepreneurs nurture influence their entrepreneurial performance. There has been a lot of work since early 2000s in trying to understand what constitutes a good network for entrepreneurs. Networks are known to bring private information to entrepreneurs, which help them get resources at lower than market prices, get advice, which is very crucial for their enterprise, provide emotional support, as well as get the name drops at various locations. My research was trying to understand what kind of network structures help entrepreneurs and identify resources and opportunities. So what do I mean by network structures? Each of us have a set of people that we interact with. Networks where our contacts do not know one another is said to be a bridging kind of network. And a network where contacts know one another is said to be bonding network. So I was trying to understand what kind of network structure helps entrepreneurs identify opportunities and what kind of network structures help identify resources. And what I found was both are required for entrepreneurs. The bridging part of the network brings you new information through which you identify new opportunities. And the bonding part of the network improves trust and fine-tune information, which helps you identify resources. So for entrepreneurs, it is not whether one needs to build a bonding kind of network or a bridging kind of network. Both of them help, but for different purposes. Bridging brings you new information, bonding brings you trust. Hence, if you're trying to seek resources from the networks that know one another. And you're trying to seek new information, you try to bring in information from contacts who do not know one another. Again, the structure depends on the overall environment that the industry is in. If you are in an industry where the environment is not changing very rapidly, there is no new information that is being created, there are new innovations coming in, having a bridging network doesn't give you an advantage. Here, one needs to nurture bonding kind of network. In the later half of 2000s, researchers realized that networks are not static. Now that we understood what kind of network structures provide you with an advantage for entrepreneurs, they started to understand how do networks evolve. How do entrepreneurs add ties? How do entrepreneurs delete ties or deactivate them or reactivate them? So networks are in a constant state of flux, and hence in later half of 2000s, researchers were trying to understand what kind of or how do entrepreneurs evolve and reaching out to whatever they would like to do. So specifically within network evolution, our research was trying to understand how can a small startup forge a successful relation with a large player. We, in a longitudinal study over 3 years, found out that the three main important processes that a startup needs to work on and build their network so that each of the processes get fulfilled. The first process that a startup needs to work on is to build the technology. So a startup will have to now reach out to resources such as financial resources, such as talent. So it's just not the founders. You need to have the team that works on a particular technology. Hence, the early network that an entrepreneur starts with should help him identify resources that needs to be brought into the startup so that they would be able to build this technology. At the same time, they also would have to look at reaching out to potential large players who are likely to be interested in this particular technology. Just as much it is important for an entrepreneur to reach out to new contacts, they will have to disengage with contacts that are not providing them with the kind of resources and support that would help them in this process. Hence, if they identify some players are not able to provide them the resources, it is time to disengage with them and only engage with the set of players who are providing them with the kind of resources and support that are required to build this particular technology. The second important focus that we identified was that they need to now work with the large player and increase the level of trust that they have with the large player. Hence, the kind of activities that they need to perform is to commit and make sure they provide undivided attention and deliver the commitments. While from a network point of view, they need to identify internal champions. Who are the people who are very receptive to them? So make contacts with these people, and at the same time, they also need to make contacts with more number of people within the organization. So this should be the networking activity at the second process. And the third and most important process that a startup need to be focusing on after the second is identifying or trying to understand why is this large player interested in the technology that they are working on. Specifically because there have been many instances in the past where the large player appropriates the technology without providing the necessary rewards to the startups. And hence, startup will have to protect itself from making sure that this does not happen. And hence, in the third process, they need to be wary of which are the units inside this large player which are hostile to them, identify which are the units which are friendly to them. So improve trust, engage with the parts of the organization which is friendly to them, and be very careful when they're working with the hostile units. At the same time, they also need to make sure that the large player starts to also commit and measure the commitments, put things in writing, measure the commitments, and whenever they see an anomaly, they have to be very careful. So it is when all these three processes are in place, then a startup can successfully forge a relationship with a large player. So currently, I'm trying to understand what actually passes through networks. So trying to understand network content and how this network content starts to help in entrepreneurs in their daily activities.